One.
All right, perfect. Welcome back to another episode of Business and Bubble Tea as part of our PHBS graduate series. Today, we're welcoming one of our PHBS alumni, Kyohei Hayano. Welcome to Business and Bubble Tea. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Hey,
No worries at all.
So he has graduated from PHBS and is now an associate at Third Bridge Group in Shanghai. How has that been for you?
It's been pretty great. I love the environment and my colleagues are pretty good. And it's a new environment. I usually enjoy a new city, new life, and it's a very international environment in my office. I I'm touching like 3 to 4 different languages every day. So yeah, that's pretty good. And yeah, I'm enjoying it so far.
I think international is generally a really good description of your life. You moved a lot within the SEA area as a child already, but then you made the jump across to Europe, right? So you decided to pursue an undergraduate degree in Europe. What was that experience like for you, especially now in hindsight? Any sort of big cultural shocks, or was it more or less already like somewhat settled because you had experienced international environments during your childhood already?
Yeah, exactly. Right now, yes, but when I first moved to London for my bachelor's, it was a little bit new. It wasn't a new experience for me, because
Mm.
even though I was abroad, I wasn't even in a high school in Singapore. But when I was in Southeast Asia, I kind of went there because my dad was working there. It was kind of my
Mm.
family reasons or like my parents' reasons to go there, and I was it's it was not my own motivation to like go abroad. So I was just in Southeast Asia. I Even though I was abroad out of Japan, I wasn't in so many different countries until then. So actually flying to London a week before my bachelor's was my first time stepping into Europe. So it was a brand new experience for my first 2 weeks. I didn't really have a culture shock actually, but I had a lot of discoveries and I really enjoyed it. And I think that experience made me try to explore more new environments in the future. And that's how I end up right now here. Yeah.
that's a pretty good resume. I
Exactly.
think it's very, 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 I think, well explained in very little time. Maybe I would like maybe to jump on this experience of yours because I mean, I've noticed, and you told me already before that you had a degree in international relations and social sciences. It's something that I can also relate to because I did exactly the same kind of path before coming to PHPS myself.
Yeah.
So maybe I came to this question myself, and I would like to ask it to you as well. How would you say that the combination of having done this kind of studies, international relations, and then coming to a master degree might have given you a different point of view of business matters? Do you think that you have something different compared to people that have done a completely business degree before?
So I like speaking about how I view business, I think there should be a lot of difference. Like or I should rather say that it was more of a new field that I explore in my academic history. It was more of like a new area that I had to learn something from a lot from scratch. And there's so it's not like because that I study international relations, it helped me view business from different perspective. Maybe, yeah, I can remember that when it was something related to econometrics or something in my first year, my project and everything was like leaning on macroeconomics or more on the macro side because I knew that I have more knowledge on the macro aspects than the micro aspects. But after all, like I found, and I mean, I should especially when you write your thesis. I'm not in economics. I was in management, so I had to think of something in terms of companies and that's why like I had to dig into more micro areas. And yeah, that's why there were actually more challenges in that sense. But it was pretty good because I was in my few years of academic life in my university. I was able to learn two different aspects, more in the public affairs and more macro scale, sociology. to more micro scale business aspects. So yeah, in terms of academic diversity, I think that was a big advantage.
That's pretty
And
nice.
the biggest gaps, where would you see them? Because I guess like a question for both of you actually, like when you first started, because arguably PHBS is quite quantitative, probably a lot more quantitative, even as a management student, than you would see in a lot of, let's say, European or American universities.
Yeah.
How did you both actually experience that?
I mean, I have my opinions, but I left Kyohei give us a bit more detail.
Sure. All right. I mean, definitely, yeah. I mean, it was way more quantitative than what I expected at first, and that was a big struggle for me, like honestly, because I mean, I really loved math in high school. Not really, but like I was okay at math. And then I went into the bachelor's, studied international relations. I was off from math for like 3 to 4 years, and then when I entered PhD, I was like, okay, I could do math to a certain extent, but there were a lot of aspects of math that I did not learn in high school, and such as econometrics, regressions, and I was so lost because we did not have like a standardized textbook that I can rely on. I had to like listen carefully in classes, and sometimes we were really quick. Like we were like pushed through like different themes in like few themes in a week, and yeah, that was a big struggle. Like I remember like doing the project with my classmates, and when I was still in the UK campus, and like I was watching the YouTube that explains about like the regression models until like 4 a.m. in the morning, and that was tough. Yeah, but after all, yeah, I did learn a lot of new things. Yeah.
Makes me remind a bit of my drama when I mean, not drama, I had to go back to math after 4 years of not touching them, and it was rewarding, but I can also say that I had some all-nighters just to catch up what I didn't have before, so I can relate to that. Pretty cool.
If it helps you, if it's any consolation, for those that have a business background in their studies, we also consulted YouTube. We also consulted a bunch of different textbooks, so I think it's safe to say everybody, no matter the background,
we all fight hard.
consulted stuff.
Pretty cool.
I mean, you just mentioned the UK, and when we talked earlier, you also mentioned that you actually took off a year between your undergrad and then pursuing a master degree by, I guess, returning to the UK. And then you also took the opportunity while being in Europe of engaging in another, I guess you could call it internship, or like not study abroad, but like work abroad, I would call it.
Working holiday.
Yeah.
Maybe you can tell us a little bit more about that, but
yeah,
how would you say this overall experience of maybe taking some time off, especially between undergrad and graduate, was for you? Under what circumstances would you recommend that actually for students to maybe gain a little bit more experience?
Oh yeah. So taking gap, it was not my initial plan. I was planning to go straight to masters after I finished my bachelor's in London, straight into China. But obviously it was during COVID. And I thought it's not really worth it to take online classes, then might as well just take a gap year. And I knew I had quite a lot of friends that were taking gap year like intentionally, even during their bachelor's course and etc. So I saw them doing other experiences, and I thought that's something more worth it to do when things are more restricted, such as during COVID. And that's what I did. And I went back to Japan, did some internships, and they were like, they were really, it was a really good experience for me because I was able to gain practical experiences which I've never had before. And that really helped me. Even my interview for my full-time job after my master's, I was able to share a lot about my experiences during my internships. And because I did several internships, I remember doing like two internships and simultaneously. So I had like 2 or 3 days in one job and another 2 or 3 days in another. So yeah, that made me explore different industries, and that was really interesting. But it wasn't always like very easy. Like I thought gap year, you can do anything you want. And so it's really like fun. But at first, okay, you take a gap year. But now what do you do in your gap year? And that was a big that was actually difficult to actually like decide what's the best thing you can do in a gap year, especially during COVID when not all options are available. So yeah, but overall, I think it really depends on what you want and what your objective is. But if you think you just simply don't know what to do in the future, but you kind of want to explore more about practical experiment, not just in university, then obviously taking gap year is something that gives you a chance to explore, because obviously if you graduate, you need to find a full-time job or something, and then it's difficult to like explore a bit and then come back to academic world again unless you go and take a new degree in the future. So yeah, that was definitely a good experience. And then since you said about the UK campus, yeah, I did go back to the UK campus, but after I felt it was not a new environment for me, obviously, because I spent my 3 years of my bachelor's in London already. And that's why I decided to go for a working holiday experience in Germany while taking online courses in PHBS. And that was something that I tried to make use of my restrictions. I was restricted. I couldn't come to Shenzhen because of COVID, because China was still in a lockdown. And then that's why I thought, okay, I could actually explore a new country. And I knew that working holidays was one thing. And if I stay in Germany, I could take online classes while have some new experiences there. So yeah, I think for at least my personality, I try to utilize the environment and see how I can maximize the time that I have under the restrictions. Yeah.
That's
Hope that was clear.
Well, I'm impressed. Picture me impressed of like getting all of that.
It was extremely clear, and I think I can actually very much agree with you because I did something similar. I also did a gap year in between my first and second year of master degree, and I was really, really useful. Maybe just as a follow-up question, we could just ask you, overall, during this gap year experience, do you think that it helped to give you already a clearer vision of what you wanted to do after you getting graduated, or was it like something that you gradually developed and it was just one part of your experience?
Well, the precise or the closer answer will be the latter. So it was more of like a gradual discovery of the business world, I could say. Because obviously, like right now, I'm having a job in an expert network industry. Not a lot of people know about this industry, I know, but I mean, it was not something that I even expected back then. It was a very sudden opportunity I had after I finished my thesis defense. And that's why, obviously, it's not linked to anything about my internship whatsoever. But then, again, during my interview, I was able to share a lot about my internship experience. And that's why, like, making a decision about jobs or any like business, whatever career related decision, those past experiences definitely shaped my decision, or at least helped me to broaden my perspective to think what is better for me right now. Yeah.
Okay. It was very flexible and it helped you out a lot, discover you throughout
Mhm.
throughout time. I can see that. Yeah, definitely.
I,
So
I'm not 100. Yeah, no, sorry, go first if you want to.
go for it, Chiara.
I was wondering because I suppose most of the positions, even as an intern that you took on, you were mostly part of international teams. I'm not sure about the position in Japan, but were there any country differences that you could observe despite actually always being in an international environment within your teams, maybe particularly between Germany and now Shanghai?
You mean like the community, right?
Yes, like within your teams, did you feel like it was different being part of an international work team in Germany opposed to now being in Shanghai in an international team setting?
So when I was in Germany, I wasn't doing any internship because it was more of like I was there working holiday. I could have done something like an internship as well, but I just decided to like do a bit of part-time job or mini job is what you call it in Germany, and then also spend some other time traveling and enjoying. Maybe if you just limit this answer to work like internship or like company environment, I could compare it between Japan and some internship experience in Japan and what I have right now in China in a very international company. I think because I did had an internship experience in under a very traditional boss in Japan. And yeah, I mean, the perspective is just totally different. Like I think the main difference I find is the way of communication. I struggle to communicate with them because like very traditional people have their way of communication that is not something that I had, or at least matched my environment, and I had at least in the past few years. So I mean, like I had to understand if if he or she communicates in a certain way, I have to understand what it actually means. Because it was not a crystal clear sentence, and but he wants me to understand in such a way and react in such a way. But yeah, that's something that is pretty different across cultures. And yeah, it's not just about understanding Japanese traditional people, but it's also about being a Japanese, trying to understand other cultures. It's just vice versa. So I had to understand different cultures simultaneously, and that's a bit challenging. Yeah. Yeah.
That's quite a challenge, I think, for any kind of people that have to go in international scenario. And you seem to be very much set out on that kind of experience for the rest of your career. So it's good to have it right away.
Yeah.
Very cool. So
But now you're at a Japanese team at Third Bridge Group. But
Mhm.
how's that for you? Do you feel settled already? Because it hasn't been technically that long that you relocated to Shanghai and started. So do you feel settled already, even like with all the international experience that you have?
Yeah, at least for the time being, even though I'm still new in the company, I feel it's a really comfortable environment. I'm happy with what I have right now. I think everything's going well at the moment. Um, and one of the factor might be that the environment really suits me. I might have mentioned it a little bit in the beginning, but um, being a British company, quite heavily influenced by the British working culture, but at the same time, it's in China, and I'm in a Japanese team. When I have like half my team are Japanese, and the other half are actually Chinese, and then they're just Chinese who grew up in Japan, or Chinese that can speak Japanese to a certain extent because they've studied it or studied in Japan before whatsoever. Yeah, so this environment has like a good mixture of what I had in the past. And that,
Right.
yeah, that's why it's a really good balance for me.
that's
Mhm.
nice. It seems to really fit your like life habits. I mean, at least it seems to be very welcoming. That's pretty nice.
Yeah,
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 no, no, go.
I actually, yeah, I just sat on. I actually like. I don't. My job is mainly talking to Japanese people. My main language that I use in my job is Japanese because I'm in a Japan team. But because a lot of people are Chinese in the office, I do speak Chinese as a standard like communication with other people or a lot of my colleagues. And then at the same time, since it's a British company, most of the documents and the system are in English. So like the general languages is English. And then right beside my team is a Korean team. So although I don't speak Korean, but yeah, I won't be able to speak Korean that much, but I will be able to like hear them speaking just next to me. So this is how it is right now.
That's pretty.
How
Yeah.
often does it happen that you answer in the wrong language? Because it happens to
How
me when I
how?
get too many, like
Oh oh
when I
oh.
get too many languages around me, and I've just been speaking one language for like the past like 5 to 10 minutes. I'm suddenly switching, and then sometimes I don't even realize I'm talking in the wrong language. I'm sure both of you can agree.
Yeah.
How often does that happen in that kind of environment? Because you mentioned you speak like 4 languages in the office every day now.
Good, good question. Well, I mean, yeah, probably like three, I would say, three languages. But good question. Like sometimes I have to I have to call someone in English, or I have to like talk to someone in English, and then I would not have any. I mean, it's not like I mixed up the language, but it's just that I don't feel smooth enough when speaking in English when I speak to tons after speaking to tons of people in Japanese. So
Mm.
this is sometimes I do have this, but yeah.
And does your job require you like to travel a lot, like for instance back to Japan, or like do you also have to go to some other places, for instance?
Not really, because we usually do most of the communications in online. I mean, if you think about it, like we do business with consulting firms, investment firms, like they're not like individual customers. It's not like okay, like you have to like go to your customer and then like have a business trip there just to show your merchandise or something. It's not like that. So like consulting firms, they're global. They do a lot of online work every day, and they like a lot of consulting firms. Their employees are even like working from home. So like they're and investment firms as well. You could imagine. So it's like there's not a need to actually like go and meet people. Yeah.
Okay. No, no, I see. It's like it's certainly not like a sales team like where they have to move around every single moment.
Exactly, exactly. I actually even people in my team, so my team like is actually separated. We don't, it's not that everyone's in Shanghai. We are separated between Shanghai and Hong Kong.
Oh,
So yeah, I when I have something that okay, if I have a project that is related to someone who is working in Hong Kong, then I'll just go talk to them online and then just check something can like or just casually go and like ask them if I can speak for a few minutes. Yeah, that's the daily routine.
that's the life of an
Yeah.
international company.
Even to London. Although I'm not in a position yet to actually do a lot of communication in London, but a lot of my seniors are actually because we're trying to give a 24 hours service, and then after in the evening, some of my colleagues will actually pass on their work to the London team, so that they can actually like take over the work until we until it's morning for us, then we can continue with the work again. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Customer service at its finest, really.
That's
Yeah.
like pretty cool. Maybe like just I have just one remaining question on this kind of topic. We know that
Mhm.
you're like working for like a consultancy companies, you're like doing a lot of research insights, but do you have a specific role inside of the company? Like what is like is it like you're like a bridge between Japan and China? Is it like could you like detail more to us exactly what is your key role inside of the company?
Actually, it's just I'm just an associate in a Japan team. So if you ask my role, I'm more of like someone in charge of the Japanese market. And it has nothing to do with Chinese market actually. So yeah, I'm just based in China. Where our East Asian headquarter, or not headquarter, but like the office that manages the East Asian markets is in Shanghai, and that's why I'm in Shanghai. But um, I think I would say it's more of being just focused on the Japanese market, but because the work itself has an international dimension, I have a lot of communication opportunities with other offices, or even have to talk with actually individual person outside the company from different countries. But my main focus on the Japanese market. Yeah.
Okay, that's pretty cool. So you can be around. I mean, it's cool that you're in Shanghai, but like you already have an international connection depending wherever you are. It could be from anywhere,
Hmm.
basically.
And
Okay.
if now somebody were to consider following in your footsteps, moving to Shanghai, because I'm not sure if many know that, but if you pursue a master's degree in China, you kind of have a little bit of a leeway. It's similar, I guess, to the United States, where you can work in the country post-graduation. But what was that process like for you to change from a student visa to a now work visa, whole relocation? How much time would you recommend somebody plans to put
So,
into that?
so I'll tell you my story after my graduation. I had one interview just a few hours before had to get get out of the dorm in Shenzhen, and I was like really in a rush because I have to like return my key card just after my interview, and then I was traveling. I just decided to travel because it was after my thesis defense, and that was mid-December, and I was in Xiamen, and they asked me to do an interview again, and they said this is the only time because it's going to be Christmas soon, and I was like, okay, I'm traveling, but I found a cafe and did my interview, and I got my offer the next day. It was super quick, and then they told me to start a month and a bit later. So that was already the end of December, and then they told me to start in the beginning of February. So that was pretty quick, but the reason why this was possible was because it was in Shanghai. Because in Shanghai, I was able to come with a tourist visa. So I went back to Japan. I did all the admin works. I applied for a tourist visa, which is pretty quick, and then came to Shanghai, or came back to China, and then I start my work, and I just got my work visa a few days ago, actually. So this is the law in Shanghai that allows foreigners to actually start a job, uh, and then go and apply for a work visa. So you can come in with a tourist visa. That
Well,
just makes everything really smooth and really quick.
that,
Yeah.
that's pretty amazing. I mean, that's the first time I hear about it. That's actually very convenient. Maybe
Mhm.
okay. So I mean, it partly answers maybe the question I would have liked to ask you. But like, how long would you even recommend coming in advance to Shanghai for people that are actually getting to relocate? Like, is there like a procedure or like a way that would work for you? Because like it all happened so fast for you. So I don't know how you would have dealt with it in different conditions.
The short answer, it really depends on how you might be used to the city and used to the way it works here. Because I arrived in Shanghai like around probably less than 5 days before I started my work. It was such a rush, and I was just able to find a flat in 3 days. But obviously, that's the most challenging thing. Thankfully, I had people that recommended me some rent agents, and I also did some like search online beforehand, and that's why I had some knowledge about like where I should go in to find one. But if not, then you might need more time for that. But like obviously, it was a bit of a rush. I would recommend having more than a week because I remember ordering a lot of stuffs, and then I had to start my job, and then I didn't have my basic stuffs, like I didn't have a tissue, or I didn't have a soap at home just because I didn't have time to spend buying those. Yeah, better have more than a week to
Yeah.
two. Yeah.
I mean, I've done myself those kind of experiences, but it's more appreciable to have a bit more time. I agree on
Yeah.
that.
Just
Yeah,
just a bit, like getting tiny bit settled, but I feel like a lot of what you're describing also shows how truly international Shanghai is, how adapted it already is to people constantly coming, going, moving, also from all across the world, really, to come to Shanghai now. Yeah,
Yeah.
so
maybe
There's a lot of foreigners around here. Mm. It's something that you can't see in Shenzhen. Shenzhen is such a big city, but it's not an international. I wouldn't say at all, but like you don't most of the people you see around the city are Chinese.
yeah,
At
yeah.
least in Shanghai, if you go to certain districts, you do at least see foreign faces, or even not non-East Asian faces, I would say. Um, in probably like in few meters apart or something. Yeah.
I agree. Like, I think the reason is because all of the international, maybe people from outside of China are more attracted to Hong Kong nearby. That could be also a reason. But in any
Mhm.
case, yeah, that's something that we wanted to also ask for you. Like the general contrast between Shenzhen and Shanghai must be very strong, at least in such a short time span like you had.
So obviously the how international it is, Shanghai is definitely more international. I even love the district around Puxi, which is even more international than any others, like any even even compared to any cities in Japan, like Yokohama or Nagasaki, where there are more like international architectures. But in like Shanghai Puxi area, you sometimes feel like you're in Europe actually. But in the other way around, actually Shenzhen is a very new city. It's very clean. Where in Shanghai, well, while there are really nice areas, they're very developed areas. Some of the areas are really old. So you do even see a lot of old districts with old buildings that you don't even see in Shenzhen, or you hardly see in central Shenzhen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
More
And
skyscraper.
in terms of the price, I think Shanghai is definitely more expensive, but as long as you don't go to like rich, like, expensive restaurants, or like you want to go out and do some outdoor activities and whatsoever, then if you just want to buy a food, do your daily life, spend your daily life, it's not a huge difference with Shenzhen, I would say. Yeah.
It's good to know. It's really good to know.
I think you can definitely opt out the development in the Greater Bay Area, though, on that topic. Like, I think it's trying to get there and be like the go-to place also for like outside of the Asian area. But yeah, obviously, as you said, a lot younger.
True. I think on my side, I've more or less viewed all of the potential questions I would actually ask. Do you have any other concluding questions, Chiara?
No, I think you gave us a really good all-around view of what to expect from life in Shanghai and what could be another potential path to take after graduation from PHBS. So thank you again for taking the time. And yeah,
Thank you.
if you have anything you want to share with the community before we finish this podcast, go ahead.
Well, I mean,
Do you have any
if
recommendations you want to give to future graduates of PHBS, for instance?
well, recommendations, I think, really depends on on each and every person. So, I mean, happy to text me or contact me anytime. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I know most of the people in PHBS right now. So yeah, happy to talk to them again. And yeah, if there's any questions, feel free.
Generous offer. I'm sure people will get back to it. Thank you again so much and have a lovely evening.
Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
you too.
Great to talk to you. See you all.